Hello friends and viewers, and welcome to part 6 of the video series on applying for Portuguese citizenship after a marriage or common law of 6 years. Today's part 6 is the application form, and what I'm doing is I'm going to be showing you what to fill out for that application to be a Portuguese citizen. So this would be the application on behalf of the applicant, which in this case is my husband because he's the Canadian trying to become a Portuguese citizen through me. If you need to look up the form itself and find it if you want to just look it up on your own, get the most recent link to it, you can Google this. Basically, it just says an English declaration to acquire Portuguese citizenship. And as you can see on it, it says for foreign nationals married for more than 3 years with a Portuguese national or that live in a legal union of more than 3 years. But you can use this also for the 6-year route. And an earlier video that we made, we talked about the difference between the 3-year and the 6-year. The 6-year, you have to just provide less links to the Portuguese community because you've been married for a whole 6 years. So you get to apply without a bunch of links. But anyway, you can definitely review those on your own on a different video. Getting into the form itself. The first box here is the identification of the applicant. So this is just this section here is what the identification part. So starting with the name. So it's the first. This is like the first and middle names of the applicant, followed by the surname, family name, last name. There's different words for it. And that's where you're going to put into this part here. You've got the sex or gender. So pick that off. In our case, Sean's male. His date of birth, day, month, and year. So just the digits, the numerical digits go in here. Estado civil, which is the marital status. In his case, he's married, so we wrote casado, C-A-S-A-D-O. You may have to Google it if you are something other than that. And then the document that he used for his identification is his Canadian passport. This wants the number of that passport, so you place that here in this field. So it's 2 letters followed by a bunch of numbers for the Canadian passport usually, and you'll find that on the bio page, so you put that in there. Next is the date that the passport was issued, day, month, and year, and issued by, in our case, the Canadian government. So we wrote Governo do Canadá, and you can Google that depending on where your particular document was issued, because it's going to vary. Residente is resident of or address, so we just put the street address and the house number and everything on this line. Postal code goes here, followed by the province we wrote in here. In our case, British Columbia, so Columbia Britannica, and you can Google how to spell that or whatever your province is that you're from, or state if this is America, you're from America. And then país is the country, so Canada or America goes here, or whatever country you're applying from. And then the telephone of the applicant goes into this line along here, followed by the email along this part here. Naturalidad, so where he was born. We put the city where Sean was born here, and that's Toronto. And the country, Canada, goes here. And then the citizenship, this is citizenship, goes here. So in our case, Canadian is Canadense. You can Google that, but it's C-A-N-A-D-E-N-S-E. If you're Canadian, that's what you write there. Okay, field number 7, filiação. It says pai and mãe. Pai means father in Portuguese, and mãe means mother. So you're going to put the name of the father and the name of the mother of the applicant. So how I did it is I put Sean's father's first and middle name, and then his surname or family name at the end, and I underlined the family name so it was clear that that was the last name. And the same thing for the mom, but I put her maiden name, so the name she was using before she was married. So first name and then the surname, maiden name underlined. This next one, number 8, is talking about where you have lived, or the applicant has lived, what countries before they lived in the country they're applying from. So Sean was born in Canada, has only lived in Canada, so that's all we needed, that's all we had. We left these two blank because he's lived nowhere else other than Canada. Number 9, profissão is profession, what job you have, what your career is. You write that in here in Portuguese, so just Google it if you have to. And now we get into this next box down here. Box number 2 is the declarations. So in this case, we are married, so we ticked off this, married with a Portuguese national for more than 3 years. Or if you're in common law, you'd tick off number 2. The date of the wedding or the marriage goes here, and the location where the marriage occurred would be here. Next, we have, do you have links to the Portuguese community? So because it's been at least 6 years of marriage, we put yes for that, because either you have those links outside of the marriage of 6 years if it's after 3, or if you've married for a whole 6 years, then that is the link, the extra 3 years. So we just ticked off yes. Have you been, this is sentenced, or have you been convicted, I should say, where a sentence of more than or equal to 3 years would be the punishment in Portugal. So here's where you start getting into that criminal record. So part 5, we went into the criminal record. If you have one and your crime could be one that gets you 3 years or more in Portugal, you have to tick off yes. If not, you push the no. This is public functions. Are you, for example, the Prime Minister of Canada would have to put yes because he would do public, like a politician, I should say. Something like that, you would put in yes if you're not in any kind of position in the public sector of things in terms of like being a MLA or something like that. Otherwise, you put no. Do you have any military service that's not obligatory? So what that means is, did you sign up to be in the military without being forced to? So some countries you have to do military service. Some countries they are just you sign up for it. So if you have military service that you signed up for on your own, you put yes, otherwise you put no. Are you or have you been involved in activities related to terrorism or practice of terrorism? So if you're part of some type of military thing that deals with that, and you've been involved in terrorism activities, I suppose, you got to put yes, otherwise you put no. This part down here is if you're born in Portugal, you could put that in. I guess if you could be born in Portugal but not have your citizenship, you'd put that here. We left that blank, because Sean was not born there. And then here we ticked off this box, number 5, which says basically that you're allowing them to access your Portuguese criminal record. And since Sean doesn't have a Portuguese criminal record, but it still allows them to verify that, so we ticked off number 5. Moving down to this next section here, this is number 6, field number 6, and we left this whole thing blank. Basically, because I was able to, I handed in my birth certificate with the application. We don't have to fill this out. If I was born in Portugal and did not submit a copy of my birth certificate, I could fill out this whole section here about myself, and they could go ahead and grab the information out of their registry. But since I have copies of everything, I copied it and submitted it with the application instead of this. So this is blank. The next part we left blank as well. And this is if Sean wasn't able to do his own application form or sign it because we were using a lawyer or something, this part would get filled out. But since we filled out our own form and he signed it himself, this got left blank. Box number 4, we did not leave this blank. It's basically a little checklist, as well as it makes sure that you know what's required to be put into the application. So the first one is the certified registration of birth of the applicant. So that would be Sean's. That was that certified copy we talked about earlier in a different part. Then next is the certified registered birth certificate of the Portuguese person, which is me. So my birth certificate, certified and registered in Portugal, got put in there. I added both the Portuguese registration of birth plus my actual birth certificate. I put both in there. And then next is the certified registration of marriage. So we registered our marriage with the Portuguese government, so we put a copy of that in there. And next would be if you've certified a common law registration of more than 3 years with the person, that would be that one. We did not need that, so I'm going to leave that one blank. Next one, a declaration that you've been at least 3 years with that Portuguese citizen in a union. So if you're marriage, you'd use this one. If you are common law, you'd have to use 4 and 5. Number 6, these are the criminal record registrations. So we did tick this box off, and we wrote the word Canada on here because that's the only country that we needed to submit a criminal record for, because Sean's lived in no other country but Canada since he was 18. And number 7, we wrote the Canadian passport. So number 7 is the document proving citizenship by the applicant, for national applicant. Tick that off. We submitted a copy of his passport. Next is number 8. We left that one blank because it is documents proving the public functions. So if he was, like I said, in politics or something, he would have to do something with that. Otherwise, leave it blank. Next one is the military service. Since he doesn't have any military service, we left that one blank. And number 10, procuração, right here. What that means is power of attorney in Portuguese is procuração. So if you're using a power of attorney to help you fill out the form, you have to attach that power of attorney in the package. So you'd have to tick that off and put a copy of the power of attorney in there. And then any other documents that you want to add, you'd put them and list them here. Very last is the signature. Don't sign it until you get to the consulate. They want to see you sign it in person. So go there with this form filled out, except for number 5, box number 5 here, signature. And basically, you can let them fill out the location and the date, and then you just sign it right here. That's where the signature happens. And then finally, the payment. They don't take the payment at the consulate in Vancouver. They give all the documents back to you, and then you would submit that payment in afterwards when you mail it off to Lisbon. So I am going to end the video here, and the next video I'm going to talk about is when we go to the consulate itself, what that process was like. And then the last video is going to be on how to actually submit the payment. And I highly recommend using the Visa method that I used to pay it, or a credit card, because I used the bank draft the first time and I made a mistake, and the whole application got sent back to us. And I'm going to explain that mistake in my last video on this topic, which is coming up in the next coming days. All right, well, thank you for joining me, and we'll see you on the next one, which is going to include our trip to the consulate. Have a great day. Thanks. Bye.